Section 2 of The Case of the Golden Bullet by Grace Isabel Colbran and Auguste Groner. This recording is in the public domain. The dull winter sun seemed only to make the gloom of the dark vestibule more visible. Johann turned up the light, and Horn, who had visited the Professor several times and knew the situation of the rooms, went at once to the heavy carved and iron-trimmed door of the study. He attempted to open the door, but it resisted all pressure. The heavy key was in the inner side of the big lock with its medieval iron ornamentation. But the key was turned so that the lower part of the lock was free, a round opening of unusual size. Horn made sure of this by holding a lighted match to the door. "You are right," he said to the valet. "The door is locked from the inside. We'll have to go through the bedroom. Johann, bring me a chisel or a hatchet. Muller, you stay here and open the door when the doctor comes." Muller nodded. Johann disappeared, returning in a few moments with a small hatchet, and followed the commissioner through the dining room. It was an attractive apartment, with its high wooden paneling and its dainty breakfast table. But a slight shiver ran through the commissioner's frame as he realized that some misfortune, some crime even, might be waiting for them on the other side of the closed door. The bedroom door was also locked on the inside, and after some moments of knocking and calling, Horn set the hatchet to the framework just as a bell of the house door pealed out. With a cracking and tearing of wood, the bedroom door fell open, and in the same moment Muller and the physician passed through the dining room. Johann hurried into the bedroom to open the window shutters, and the others gathered in the doorway. A single look showed each of the men that the bed was untouched, and they passed on through the room. The door from the bedroom to the study stood open. In the latter room the shutters were tightly closed and the lamp had long since gone out. But sufficient light fell through the open bedroom door for the men to see the figure of the Professor seated at his desk, and when Johann opened the shutters, it was plain to all that the silent figure before them was that of a corpse. "Heart disease, probably," murmured the physician as he touched the icy forehead. Then he felt the pulse of the stiffened hand from which the pen had fallen in the moment of death, raised the drooping head and lifted the half-closed eyelids. The eyes were glazed. The others looked on in silence. Horn was very pale, and his usually calm face showed great emotion. Johann seemed quite beside himself. The tears rolled down his cheeks unhindered. Muller stood without a sign of life. His sallow face seemed made of bronze. He was watching and listening. He seemed to hear and see what no one else could see or hear. He smiled slightly when the doctor spoke of heart disease, and his eyes fell on the revolver that lay near the dead man's hand on the desk. Then he shook his head, and then he started suddenly. Horn noticed the movement. It was in the moment when the physician raised up the sunken figure that had fallen half over the desk. "He was killed by a bullet," said Muller. "Yes, that was it," replied the doctor. With the raising of the body, the dead man's waistcoat fell back into its usual position, and they could see a little round hole in his shirt. The doctor opened the shirt bosom and pointed to a little wound in the Professor's left breast. There were scarcely 3 or 4 drops of blood visible. The hemorrhage had been internal. "He must have died at once without suffering," said the physician. "He killed himself! He killed himself!" murmured Johann, as if bewildered. "It's strange that he should have found time to lay down the revolver before he died," remarked Horn. Johann put out his hand and raised the weapon before Horn could prevent him. "Leave that pistol where it was," commanded the commissioner. "We have to look into this matter more closely." The doctor turned quickly. "You think it was murder?" he exclaimed. "The doors were both locked on the inside. Where could the murderer be?" "I don't pretend to see him myself yet, but our rule is to leave things as they are discovered until the official examination. Muller, did you shut the outer door?" "Yes, sir. Here is the key." "Johann, are there any more keys for the outer door?" "Yes, sir. One more, that is for the third, was lost some months ago. The Professor's key ought to be in the drawer of the little table beside his bed." "Will you please look for it, Muller?" Muller went into the bedroom and soon returned with the key, which he handed to the commissioner. The detective had found something else in the little table drawer, a tortoiseshell hairpin, which he had carefully hidden in his own pocket before rejoining the others. Horn turned to the servant again. "How many times have you been out of this apartment since last night?" "Once only, sir, to go to the police station to fetch you." "And you locked the door behind you?" "Why, yes, sir. You saw that I had turned the key twice to let you in." Horn and Muller both looked the young man over very carefully. He seemed perfectly innocent, and their suspicion that he might have turned the key in pretence only soon vanished. It would have been foolish suspicion anyway. If he were in league with the murderer, he could have let the latter escape with much more safety during the night. Horn let his eyes wander about the rooms again, and said slowly, "Then the murderer is still here, or else—" "Or else?" asked the doctor. "Or else we have a strange riddle to solve." Johann had laid the pistol down again. Muller stretched forth his hand and took it up. He looked at it a moment, then handed it to the commissioner. "We have to do with a murder here. There is not a shot fired from this revolver, for every chamber is still loaded, and there is no other weapon in sight," said the detective quietly. "Yes, he was murdered. This revolver is fully loaded. Let us begin the search at once." Horn was more excited than he cared to show. Johann looked about in alarm, but when he saw the others beginning to peer in every cupboard, every corner, he himself joined in the man hunt. A quarter of an hour later, the four men relinquished their fruitless efforts and gathered beside the corpse again. "Doctor, will you have the kindness to report to the head commissioner of police, and to order the taking away of the body? We will look about for some motive for this murder in the meantime," said Horn, as he held out his hand to the physician. Muller walked out to the door of the house with the doctor. "Do you think this valet did it?" asked the physician softly. "He? Oh dear no," replied the detective scornfully. "You think he is too stupid? But this stupidity might be feigned." "It's real enough, doctor." "But what do you think about it? You who have the gift of seeing more than other people see, even if it does bring you into disfavor with the powers that be." "Then you don't believe me yet?" "You mean about the beautiful Mrs. Knipe? And yet I tell you I am right. It was an intentional suicide." "Muller, Muller, you must keep better watch over your imagination and your tongue. It is a dangerous thing to spread rumors about persons high in favor with the Archduke." "But you had better tell me what you think about this affair," continued the doctor, pointing back towards the room they had just left. "There's a woman in the case." "Aha! You are romancing again. Well, they won't be so sensitive about this matter. But take care that you don't make a mistake again, my dear Muller. It would be likely to cost you your position, don't forget that." The doctor left the house. Muller smiled bitterly as he closed the door behind him, and murmured to himself, "Indeed I do not forget it, and that is why I shall take this matter into my own hands. But the Knipe case is not closed yet, by any means." When he returned to the study he saw Johann sitting quietly in a corner, shaking his head, as if trying to understand it all. Horn was bent over a sheet of writing paper which lay before the dead man. Fellner must have been busy at his desk when the bullet penetrated his heart. His hand in dying had let fall the pen, which had drawn a long black mark across the bottom of the sheet. One page of the paper was covered with small, delicate handwriting. Horn called up the detective, and together they read the following words: "Dear friend, he challenged me. Pistols. It means life or death. My enemy is very bitter. But I am not ready to die yet, and as I know that I would be the one to fall, I have refused the duel. That will help me little, for his revenge will know how to find me. I dare not be a moment without a weapon now. His threats on my refusal let me fear the worst. I have an uncanny presentiment of evil. I shall leave here tomorrow. With the excuse of having some pressing family affair to attend to, I have secured several days' leave. Of course I do not intend to return. I am hoping that you will come here and break up my establishment in my stead. I will tell you everything else when I see you. I am in a hurry now, for there is a good deal of packing to do. If anything should happen to me, you will know who it is who is responsible for my death. His name is—" Here the letter came to an abrupt close. Muller and Horn looked at each other in silence, then they turned their eyes again toward the dead man. "He was a coward," said the detective coldly, and turned away. Horn repeated mechanically, "A coward," and his eyes also looked down, with a changed expression upon his handsome soft-featured face, framed in curly blond hair, that lay so silent against the chair back. Many women had loved this dead man, and many men had been fond of him, for they had believed him capable and manly. Section 2